Okay, I got that down.
Brilliant.
Hello, welcome to Tya Talk. I am Carrie, and I am not David, as you know. I do often impersonate him, though. I am here to do Tya Talk with one of our lovely Tya coaches, Deborah Wilson, also my friend. And I met her through Tya Boot Camp, and she has just become a very dear friend to me. And we talk often, even though she lives across the pond. Welcome, Deborah.
Thank you so much. Such fun to be here. So I'm still getting over the trauma of it being on StreamYard, which doesn't have a filter. Had I known, I wouldn't have come, darling.
No filters. This is us.
I only accept invitations where there's makeup, full makeup and lighting, or a filter.
Yeah, get on the carpet. We will accept those invitations.
I'll let my agent fill you in on the details. Yeah. Anyway, no,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. It's so lovely to get to co-create with you. You're so inspiring, and just what you were sharing with me just before we came on, I was like, yeah, I wish we could be sharing this with everyone, because your natural connection and energy, and I don't know anyone that trusts is more the queen of trust than you. And so I absolutely love bathing in your energy. One of the most wonderful gifts. I'm just in such awe, as I think you've noticed recently from my messages and my posts, just in so much awe and joy at this practice, and how it just, we always hear how there is no ceiling and how the joy just keeps building and building. And to actually experience that is just magnificent, isn't it? And yes.
And I still say, I used to say I struggle, and now I'm not going to say that anymore. The words to describe it aren't even created yet, because I don't believe I've ever been in this feeling of immense joy and appreciation and love of life and all of its experiences, and stepping away from it's a good or bad or up or down, or it's all an experience, and finding the appreciation through this journey, meeting David and going through boot camp, and um, his teachings, it just continues to grow and expand and become this just magnificent is the only word I can think of it currently, but it's even more than that. And like you said, Deborah, it doesn't end. That's the best piece. It doesn't ever end. And I find, I find myself just sometimes just giggling out, and people will look at me. I was actually telling David the other day, I was driving, I moved to an island, and we drive on golf carts, and it was pouring down rain. And, I could either be sad about it, or I thought, well, I've never experienced this before. So I was just laughing, and the rain is pelting me, and I don't have a cover or anything. And I'm just driving along and definitely getting looks from people. But I thought, it's just rain, right? I can dry off. And I thought, let's experience this. So I was driving along, and the rain is flying all over me. And I was just giggling and laughing. And so, which brings me to the topic that Deborah and I had discussed and earlier discussed with David and our Tya team. Coming into the holidays can be a struggle for some. I know it was for me in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for you too, Deborah. So you had said that you had some big aha moments. If you'd like to share those with us, and we see people signing on. So hello, friends.
Yes, I can't actually see people at the moment, but I trust that you can, and hopefully I'll be able to see the comments, because it would be lovely to get people's feedback and know what's resonating, and if there are any other areas that you'd like us to bring up, because there is so much to say around the subject. And I think I first heard that we were going to be doing this, what for me was late. And so I sort of went straight to bed pretty much afterwards. And I found myself waking up at, I think it was 1 o'clock in the morning, but it wasn't, it was just an excitement and my version of what would be downloads. And my connection tends to come to me through dreams and through words or maybe songs. And I was so wide awake and so buzzing with that connection and with that energy. And I started finding myself writing. I have a little list, which I actually did this at 1 o'clock this morning, because I was so just so excited by it. So anyway, I would like to share some of the things that came up for me, and then we can bounce off each other, and also any comments that those of you that are listening have. It would be lovely if we could make this interactive. So as you were saying, that for many people, this can be a really, really challenging time of year. And I want to remember that and to be as empathetic as I can, because there might well be people listening who are actually going through that themselves. And what I'd like to say is, I think, well, I know that we certainly have some very concrete tools and advice for you to help you to really navigate your way through this in a much happier and smoother way. I know I used to struggle myself, really, anything that was birthdays, oh, absolutely, I really did not enjoy them at all. And this time of year, I will tend to say Christmas, because that's my experience. I'm obviously well aware that there are many other holidays around, and forgive me if I do talk about Christmas, that's just my point of reference. I'm very much aware that there are all sorts of other holidays around at this time. So, okay, so let's start with why it is so challenging, why so many of us do struggle at this time of year. Now, a lot of it is obviously to do with that, as David is always saying, the Instagram version of life that we're having peddled and pushed down our throats. And it seems earlier and earlier each year, you start to see, I don't know about in Belize now, the adverts and the pushing of the Instagram version of Christmas seems to start earlier and earlier each year here. And it's very much that idealized family situation, or the perfect family in their perfect Christmas jumpers and the perfect tree with their perfect hairstyles and opening the perfect presents. And the subliminal messaging and all that sort of the pressure that we create for ourselves to live up to that. Now, I know that many people here will feel that they've moved past that as well, but that is there. It's still there. It's still very much in our psyche. It's still very much present in our daily lives, however much we might feel we've stepped away from that. And the pressure that we create on ourselves to comply with that can be enormous. And also, obviously, the expectations of other people. It can, I was going to say, have a snowball effect. That was no pun intended. Christmas,
yes, you nailed that. It's the expectation that we're supposed to have this lovely Christmas day or holiday, whatever holiday you celebrate. There's still that expectation. It's a holiday and we're all going to get together and it's going to be this, Hallmark Christmas card, or like you said, Instagram version of everybody's dressed up and it's going to be perfect. And, we're going to serve this perfect meal and everyone's going to enjoy it. And then, the expectation that we set sometimes, I know for myself, the expectation that everyone would have such a lovely time. And then if you have children, they're sometimes not having a lovely time, or they're tired, or they're stressed, or you're tired because you've had to feel the need to bake all these things and shop and buy the perfect gifts and wrap the presents. And oh, I remember just being absolutely overwhelmed. And then
Yes.
the day comes and it's not what you expected. And so then, yeah, it's in the judgment of it where the struggle lies. Yeah, that's brilliant, Deborah.
Indeed. Yes, I've got a whole thing around judgment. There's a big area around that. But coming up, spoiler alert, yes. So
So,
another thing that occurred to me, there are sort of two aspects of it this morning, was the childlike version that so many of us keep and viscerally in our bodies. We remember that. For me, I don't remember things visually, but I remember the sensations of what I was feeling. And that visceral excitement, that childlike joy of that Christmas morning. Goodness, I can take myself right back there now. And though we might not even possibly be able to verbalize that, I think that stays within us. And many of us forget that feeling of connection, the magic. And then when that doesn't happen, it's almost maybe not even a conscious thing that there's something missing, but we feel that. And I think also there's that, the fact that we can actually create that Christmas morning or whatever your holiday is feeling every day of the year. And I've been very much exploring this recently as a shameless plug for my book. Coming up soon. And I've been writing about this a lot recently.
yes.
My editors would have to tone it down because I get a bit too excited about that feeling that I can plug back into of that Christmas morning. And in fact, that we can plug into every day of our lives and feel. But anyway, I'm slightly digressing, that when we don't get that feeling back and Christmas just feels a bit flat, then that's oftentimes, I think, is what is going on. And then, of course, the other big thing, family, because let's face it, I think it was Eckhart Tolle that said, if you want to know how spiritually evolved you are, then go and spend a weekend with your family. And I think that's very, very true. It's very easy for us if we have our practice and we're set up and running, and it can be so simple just to be back there in a flash. I know that I used to, before the practice, I was obviously practicing other things, and I would think, okay, this year.
Yeah.
And then they just see that thing that it just goes straight to your gut, and you're, oof. It's like literally being punched in the stomach of, oof. You have your mad Aunt Mabel who'll say something like, oh, you've had your hair cut, have you? Aren't the fashions interesting this year? Or something. The English are really adept at that passive aggression. And now, of course, I would just find that absolutely delightful. I would find it so funny. But once again, trying to stay in a very empathetic place for people that are listening who might still, and of course, we can all be triggered, can't we? And there are so many of those triggers which are coming up at this time of year through that. For those of you, obviously not everybody, but for a lot of us who will be in family situations.
And the thing, I think, the one of my favorite gifts of learning the Tya mindset was the tool to realize that I can control myself. And so if others trigger me, it's something within me, but also realizing that when you are all coming together at a holiday, at someone's home or wherever you gather, that they too may be triggered. So I love the comment about the hair, because turning that around, someone saying, "Oh, I love your hair, your new haircut," not realizing that they may hate their new haircut. And even though you commented a nice comment versus what Aunt Mabel said, they could be triggered.
Yeah.
And so I always go back to this short story that David told about two children growing up in the same household because I witnessed this. My sister, who was quite a bit older than me, her view of our childhood is very different than my view. And it's interesting now to sit with her and see her view versus my view. And it's a memory and things that she took away from those holidays versus the things I took away from those holidays. So then when you get together, they're maybe triggered as well.
Yeah.
So realizing that my favorite tool is the deep breathing. If I do feel that visceral trigger, or I feel that anxiety or stress of walking into the holiday party, knowing past history and those ones that can trigger us, and just stopping. I stop at the door or in my car before I go in, and just do a few of those deep breathing, those eight count breathing, just centering myself so that I can be in a experienced vibe of, which we've all experienced, meaning a vibe of calmness, and just not expectations, but calmness and excitement of what are we going to experience this Christmas or this holiday, and just allowing the experience, because we know it's short-lived, right? It's just a day or a week or however long your holiday lasts, and going in with that different view. But I love that, Deborah, because I also have in my body the memories, but I also am very visual. So
Yeah.
that I could go back to my little self at Christmas and feel the excitement that, of the food cooking. My mother, we always had Christmas, and she was such a wonderful baker. So the food baking and the smells of Christmas, of holidays, of Thanksgiving, and those specialties that she would make. And then, everyone coming over and being excited to open a present. I mean, that's the childhood magic, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, if we just embrace that as adults when we're going to go into the situation of
Yeah. Yes.
appreciating the smells and the
Yeah.
food, and that we got to gather with people we love so much. Yes, they can trigger us, and yes, it can be stressful, but that's our tribe, right? Our family, our people, and to go in looking at it in this viewpoint, I hope is helpful, because we do know, as Deborah said, how stressful that can be with what you carry with you from your childhood.
Yes.
I love
That
that,
was that
Deborah.
was beautiful. That was beautiful. I was right back there as well. I was right there with you. But and something that I've been playing with recently is that knowing that we can transmute in the moment that feeling of anxiety, we really can do that. I found that really fun to play with recently. So if you're feeling, as you say, you're going into that thinking, oh, what's gonna go, and then that feeling, if you can actually catch yourself in that moment and see if you can feel it within you. I finding the embodiment of feeling so helpful to actually feel where it is within your body, and see if you can, as you say, that beautiful red breathing, and then can I transmute this? Can I actually change this into excitement and appreciation for the moment? And it can take some playing with, but it's I find it very, very helpful to play with that. And there was something, little words that came up in as immediately as I woke this morning. So I thought I'll throw them in there because it leads me on to our next subject quite nicely, of remembering it's only an inside out reality, that it is never the circumstances that are producing what we're feeling that are created. It's, let's put it this way, that it's we might think traditionally that it's the happy people who are appreciative, but it's in fact the appreciative people who are happy. We are creating in every moment.
Yes.
Just with literally something as simple as changing a thought. What is it? I know it's not directly tied, but our great mentor Wayne Dyer, change your thoughts, change your life. And it is that, can be that instantaneous, drop away from you in a second. And gosh, I'm aware that the time is moving on. So that did bring me nicely to something which I think is an absolute superpower and could be so, so helpful for someone that might be feeling a little anxious around these holidays. And there are two aspects that I thought I'd like to dig into in this. And the superpower of appreciation.
Yes.
And
Yes.
yes. Now, I thought I'll just give a couple of my thoughts on this, and then I'd love to get obviously your input, the appreciation.
Yes. And I'll share some of the comments. So, but keep going. I love this.
Brilliant. Because I felt this morning as I was thinking this over, the two aspects of this, and one of them is very, very practical. So let's go with first that appreciating whatever your circumstances are, however they might not be living up to your ideal of that Instagram Christmas, whatever, if you're breathing, and I know it can sound and feel so facile to say that, but it's once again this embodying, this trying to go in and actually not just the word, but feel, oh, I'm getting those covered in goosebumps as I say this. Oh my goodness. The energy is really moving. Woo! Quite a moment. You can actually feel within what a superpower this is. And it's something which I didn't quite grasp at first because it was more of a concept and a word. So it did feel almost a little bit superficial, that I am grateful for, I am happy for. And that way it stays very much on the surface. I would really to see if you can really go within and feel that and actually look for that feeling in your body. That charges it, turns up the volume on it a millionfold. And my goodness, it is literally like having an Aladdin's lamp in your pocket.
Yes.
It's quite astonishing. And then the other practical tip, which I thought could be a really great experiment for people to try, which is transformative. If you have maybe some doubts about this, then you can actually try this for yourself. If you do have your own version of your Aunt Mabel or somebody coming, is not somebody that you maybe automatically and naturally feel that great appreciation for, then I would so love if somebody would actually did this and let me know how this works for them, because it can, you think of your Mad Aunt Mabel, sort of like her hats. They're a bit wild, but that's all I can really find at the moment, the Mad Aunt Mabel, because, let's face it, she ain't a bundle of joy. So maybe if it doesn't immediately occur to you what you can genuinely appreciate, then you could maybe start with trying to sort of reframe your perspective on her and to see why she might be acting that way and what it is that makes her such a mean, cranky old thing, and maybe just try and empathize from her perspective and get into it sort of in the back door that way, because of course if she were in joy she would be spreading that. She's reflecting out obviously what she has within You can't get orange juice, anything other than orange juice out of an orange. That was another of Wayne Dyer's favorites.
Yes, isn't that the truth?
That
Oh,
was true. So
yes.
if you could maybe start there and trying to find some place of empathy for her, even though you're initially about, oh God, I really, and then from there maybe you could shift it over into, oh, I do appreciate that time when she really did make an effort, or I do appreciate that she can be very funny, maybe not always intentionally, but she can be very amusing, or just anything. And actually the fact the writing it out can be really, that can really help to get the juices flowing. So gosh, I am aware of time moving on. So but that it's such an important tool. And I think, well, I was trying to find things that could be actually practical and helpful for somebody
Yeah.
that might even just be joining the practice. And this all sounds a little bit like, well, what do you mean I find appreciation for Aunt Mabel? She's an old cow, and why should I like her? But
Yeah. But it's actually simple. It really is very simple. Just like Elaine Deborah's is instead of getting upset with her because she made a comment, I've always found that you can always find something to appreciate. The sweater she wore, the blouse that she, a necklace she has on, or maybe even something as simple as just sitting next to her and just sitting there. You don't have to say or anything, but sit next to her for a moment. Put your arm around her. Maybe she's just needing a little extra love. These are simple things we can do to find that appreciation. And of course, my favorite thing is smells. My kids always said I had a dog nose, that I could smell everything. But I really do. Smells in me, just the smell of a pie baking, or the smell of the holiday baking, or even just in the morning, the smell of my coffee. I love my coffee. That's my go-to drink. And when I went back to the old time brewing so I could smell the coffee and appreciate that soon I will be drinking it versus getting up cranky, and I used to have one that did instant coffee because it was like, I need my coffee. And I really never was stopping to enjoy it.
Mm.
And so when I realized that the appreciation, I can say I love coffee, right? But to really appreciate it and bring in all my senses of hearing it percolate and smelling the smells and knowing it's coming in the perfect temperature in my favorite cup, right? So there's something about that aunt or cousin or sister, brother, mother, whoever you're spending your holidays with, there's something you can find to appreciate. And if you can't find that, appreciate the fact that you are able to go to a holiday party. Some people are alone and
Mm.
don't have that. So appreciate that. Wow. If that's all you can find, sit in that appreciation. But Deborah, you are so right. We can say it, we can write it, but when you really feel it,
Mm.
and I felt that when you were saying that, there's such alchemy in that. There's such magic in that true appreciation of, wow, I'm here and it's a holiday and I'm not at work and I can just sit back on this couch and people are baking and talking and cheering and just appreciating that.
Yes, and of course, if you are alone, because there will be people in the myriad ways of celebrating, and
Yes.
whatever the circumstances, whatever, it always is such a superpower. I love what you were saying about the appreciating the coffee and the smell of it. Oh goodness, yes, yes. That is just so applying all of your senses. That was beautiful. I
Yeah.
love that.
And really taking that moment.
Mm.
I always feel like, um, you know, in the past, I'm definitely type A, get it done, next thing, always running 100 miles an hour. I was the type that if it wasn't happening, then I would make it happen, right? I was going to jump in, all in, figure it out. And but what I realized is that in doing that, I'm 49 steps actually ahead. So I'm always in my brain, and I'm not even appreciating the moment or the experience that I even get to do that. And so now I definitely am taking the time to appreciate that, one, I'm here and I get to experience life and I get to meet all these fabulous, fabulous people. We have so many people in our group, which was another celebration we just had. 4,000 people have joined us in this Tya practice group. How amazing is that? From all around the world. And we celebrate each and every one of you on your journey, because we're all here and we're trying to figure this out. And we just have such high gratitude and appreciation for each and every one of you. And there's so many beautiful comments. I don't see any questions, but I love this. Let me go back. There's so many new names I see too, but I love this Joe Zamora. He said, yes. Yeah, I love Joe. He said, yes, it's what you did that you remember the most. We don't necessarily remember the gift we received. It was the experience of it. You're so brilliant, Joe. So, and he said, make it fun. And exactly, make it fun. So again, back to Deborah's, appreciation of the auntie that, or the, I said the cousin, whoever triggers you. But if you can't find a nice thing to say, or you can't find anything to appreciate, just sit next to her, put your arm around her, have human contact. Because I think often too, our older folks, as they get older, sometimes they're living alone and they're isolated. I took care of my mother and my auntie as they went through the aging process, and oftentimes they're alone and they're losing their freedoms of being able to drive, or being able to see or do their banking, or they know. I remember my mom coming to me and she's like, I don't know what's wrong, but I know I'm not thinking correctly. And so just sitting with them sometimes, maybe that's, what's going on in their life. And you don't realize maybe it took a real big struggle for them to even get there. So just sitting next to them, hold their hand, put your arm around them. If that's all you can find, oh, Deborah, you're so beautiful.
It was just so beautiful. The empathy and the love that flow out of you, Kerry. It is just absolutely beautiful. Look at us having a moment. But it is just so, I feel it, so that the vibration goes out of you. So anyway, top of it.
One more question.
Yes.
Sam just posted a question, and I can help him on this because I went through this. He said, this is wonderful so far. Thank you, Sam. We love you.
Awesome.
Could you speak on navigating the holidays when it's the first after a loved one has transitioned?
Yeah.
Yes, I know that because I can speak very clearly. I lost my mom. She transitioned. I think it's been 2 years now. I lose track of time. But what we did the first holidays after she was gone, because she always, like I said, she was this amazing chef, and probably why I don't cook, because my mom could do it so much better than I could. Anyway, so what we would do is that was her superpower, and that was her love language. She loved, and she used to, bless her little heart, she was so cute. She used to make these loaves of banana bread, and we have all tried the recipe and we cannot get it. And I know it's because she infused her love in that banana bread. And she would make all these loaves, mini loaves, and then that was her gift to our postman. Or if someone showed up and we didn't have a gift, we got a loaf of banana bread, and she actually became quite famous for her banana bread in our little town. So what we would do is how we did is we would just celebrate her life, and we would start sharing stories of my mother. And she she was very close to her family, and my aunt was just about, I think, 10 months older than her, or 11 months. I'm not sure exactly of the age difference, but they were all stair steps, very close in age, and they died very close together. So we would share stories of my auntie and my mom, and um, some things that I would share, people would be like, "Oh, I forgot," or "I'd never heard that story." So we just shared stories that they shared with us of their childhood, of their life, of their growing up. And of course, I wish my mother would have written a book like me, and I carry those stories because she had very, very many adventures. She was a world traveler, and they had many, many stories, many funny stories. So that is how we navigated the holidays when they had transitioned and they weren't here with us in their physical body, was keeping their stories alive by sharing those, and laughing and enjoying funny stories, because it is hard. I mean, there's grief. You're going to grieve. Your humanness is missing their humanness, their human touch. But that's the way I feel is best to handle navigating through the holidays, is finding those lovely stories to share about them. And let's see, Erica's struggling. She said, "Oh, I love this, Erica." She said that both her partner and her struggled with the holidays when they were so young. So they've chosen to create new traditions for themselves as adults and for their children, and not relive the old story. Wow.
That's
Erica,
fabulous.
powerful.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yes.
Fantastic.
That
Love
is fantastic. So beautiful. So many comments. And then Cheryl, oh, I love this. She
Oh,
makes apple cake, and she said neither of her children can duplicate the recipe. They grew up with it and often
yeah.
helped her. Yes, she never thought about the love. It's generations old. Yes, agreed. Cheryl, it is about the love, because my mother would make that banana bread, and then she made this other recipe she called stolen candy that her mother handed down from her great grandmother. And I have tried to duplicate it. My kids have tried, family members have tried, and we just cannot get the recipe down. And I think it was the love that was shared and infused, because think about it, those are the lovely memories, cooking in the kitchen with your mom or your auntie or your children. I know that was some of the best memories my family and I have, because I always failed at the cooking. So my kids have a lot of stories to tell about that. But what we did is we enjoyed the experience of it. And we knew we had no expectation of it being good, because we did. So we would laugh and then order a pizza or something. And many of us on holidays, because my holiday excitement and cooking skills would flop. So good comments. All right, Deborah, what's the next?
Next on the list, and just want to say, Cheryl, so lovely that you're here, Cheryl. Thank you for always showing up and having such
Yes.
lovely input. We absolutely love that you're here, and much love to you too, Sam. It's a tough one at this time. We're sending you so much love. The next one on my list is the other superpower, one of the other superpowers of intention setting. Now, that once again, I think if it's something that's new to you, might sound again, well, let's see how could that really help. Okay, I set the intention to have a great day, and yeah, but what I know, I'm hammering a bit on this, harping on about the feeling it in your body, but it is another superpower. What can I say? It is. I'm not gonna lie. It's that sitting and actually feeling the intention that you are trying to set. So that's how it works for me anyway. It'd be interesting to see how it works for you, Carrie. But what I find is I know that people do this differently. Some people will just have an intention at the beginning of the day, and I call it bop, as opposed to your BPO, the bop, because I like it's got a boppy dance. what's the best possible outcome? What would what be? I always say best outcome possible. But anyway, and then pretty much that is it for the day. I find that I definitely do that for my sort of first go-to thing of getting up. But then I will go through the day and actually, I'm going to think of an Abraham term here of segment intending. So literally every time you change to a new activity, whether it be for me, it's usually going out for a run with my dog, who's an Australian cattle dog. If anybody's familiar with them, they are extremely willful creatures. Kerry and I often share stories of him rolling in his badger poo and things like that. But since I have done that and setting it from the heart space, that's another way I find of embodying these tools. I find it really helpful to actually embody and see if I can find a way of using my body as a portal to help with this. And with intention setting, I find that from my heart space, try and imagine and set that go out of the day. It might seem a little bit of a silly example to give, but an Australian cattle dog, we had many a tussle before I found this practice. And then I open my heart and just imagine it being a beautiful run, just not sort of hammering on it, going over at that, coming back and saying, oh, good boy, that was great, and just setting down intention for it to be controlled, calm, peaceful, energized. And anyway, that it has been once again like the genius lamp of appreciation, that of intention setting. So where obviously the holidays are concerned, you could very much set that intention to have a great day, and as you move from each segment, it's not something that you can really, well, you could practice this obviously ahead of time. I liked the practical aspect of the appreciation where you could actually start this process now with somebody that's coming and trying to start finding. With the intention setting, obviously it could be a practice that you could start now and seeing how that actually works through your days coming up. And gosh, once again, I'm keeping an eye on the time. So I think I'll pop that over to you. I don't know which side you're on.
And I love it because so many things brought up. So one thing that I did, because I think intention setting goes hand in hand with appreciation and non-judgment and non-expectation. And so what I did before I got into the practice, where I honed my practice, I need reminders. So I set a reminder in my phone to buzz me every, in the beginning, I did about every hour to just check in and where am I in my body? Am I judging? Am I expecting? Or am I allowing and setting the intention? So I love that. But now that I have the practice, I set an intention for every single thing, every new thing I do. In the morning, as I said, just waiting for my coffee and smelling it, I set the intention that it's going to be fabulous and exactly what my body needs. But I love best possible outcome was always my favorite.
You're on the queen of that.
Reversed it to BOP, because I don't know if you're aware, when my kids were little, there was this toy called Bop It, BOP it, and it was this stick that you passed around, and we got one, of course, for a holiday party, and we laughed so hard. And I can't remember exactly. It told you to do stuff. So you bopped the top, and then it would say, I think it was like twist it or jump it or something, and you had to do the physical and then bop it and pass it. And it just, that came to mind when you said that. So I'm going to reverse mine, best because I get such joy for that. So bop it for best outcome possible. Because for me personally, when I set a rigid intention, like I'm going to a holiday party, I'm intending to have a good time. To me, that felt needy or challenging for me personally. So if I just said, I'm just going to go and have the best outcome possible and go see what I'm going to experience, like opening a Christmas gift. I don't know what it is. Will I love it? Will I not like it? Do I need it? Do I don't need it? It doesn't matter, right? Someone went and spent the time to give me a gift, and I cannot wait to see what's inside and then be excited. So that's the way I kind of look at things, like you said, Deborah, bringing back that childhood experience. And then my last thing, interesting that you brought up Otto, your dog, because I have been struggling a little bit with my dog. She's a chocolate lab, and we moved from a ranch in Texas where she could run free, all over, swim, do what she wanted, and that's where she grew up. To now we live on an island, and she has to walk on a leash currently, because we're not moved to where we're going to move yet. So that's a long story, but we're in a small apartment, and there's a lot of activity, so it's a little unnerving to her. But what I just realized is this past weekend, there was a lot of activity. People are decorating, holiday parties have started. There's lots of different dogs in the neighborhood. And I was not setting our intention to have an enjoyable walk. And dogs sense that. So she sensed my little apprehension, and she was just acting like she was the day I brought her, like so almost afraid to go outside. And I realized that I had to do my breathing and realize that my vibration affects her vibration.
Oh.
And so I just, and I do talk to my dog. And so I told her, I set the expectation. We're going to go outside. We're going to look at the Christmas lights, and we're going to see what we can see, and we're going to have a lovely walk. And I just setting that intention, and she calmed right down and just is back to being her sweet, lovable self. But I could tell something was wrong. And so it's interesting, huge aha moment with all this as well, for those that have children or those that are going to holiday parties with others. If we're going in wound up with the preconceived idea that, oh, this is going to be rough and Aunt Mabel's going to come in and that's going to trigger me, your vibration is already bringing that. So yeah, how beautiful to just sit a moment and breathe, like you said, and feel in your body and say, best outcome possible, bop it. And
Bop it. I think we're on the same.
Maybe I love it.
With the bop wand.
Yeah. I wonder if that toy is still around. But anyway, I love that you brought those tools to my attention, because I too, they're simple and they're easy to do. And the one thing that my most favorite of all time, because I used to get very anxious and, like I said, ahead of myself, and what if this and what if this, and oh no, my meal's not working out, and I get all wound up, is the thing that I remembered most is the breathing. And in Tya, we learned to do an 8 count in, 8 count out, holding for 8. But what I used to do before that is I have 5 fingers. So I would do 5 rounds of breath on my fingers. And then my fingers are down, and now I'm centered. I've pulled that energy, I've centered it. Because I thought, if I can't remember anything, at least I know I've got 5 fingers and I can do 5 breaths, right? And that was a simple one for me, especially when I am feeling the overwhelming energy of that Instagram holiday, that it all has to be perfect, and it doesn't. It's perfect for you, whatever that looks like. And I absolutely love this conversation with you, Deborah. You brought so many great ideas, and reminding even myself of the simple tools to get through these days.
There is so much good, because that was my intention, was for this to be actually practical and helpful things that people really, because so often it can be, it used to drive me nuts when people would say, just go within.
Mhm.
Just and they wouldn't try and explain how, or they wouldn't. My intention was for people to actually have things that they can try themselves, try it
Yes.
out, and effect that change. So I'm really hoping that we're getting there. And moving on to the because this is a very big area. Now, I found myself writing reams about this morning. We're certainly not going to go into all of that, but it is, and I know there's somebody here specifically who was hoping to hear about the area of judgment. This is such a massive, massive area. I'm going to see if I can keep it to the key points I'd really like to get across. I think it's going to be a very challenging area for people to get immediately of. It is only ever the fact that if we are judging the experience, as David says, taking the judgment and the fear out of any situation, that is what will bring us the clarity. And there was a podcast he did on LOA Today the other day, which there was a quote from it, from the stream, which I actually wrote down. I loved it, and I just want to read that one, because when our egoic mind wants to go into that egoic repair system because we feel we are being attacked because of our judgment, because somebody says, don't be stupid, that is absolute rubbish, how could you possibly think that? And we automatically want to go into that egoic repair of, it's attacking me, how dare you, da, 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 da. And to get out of that, to be able to pull yourself away from that and to understand the why is so, so crucial. So hopefully this quote will sort of go some way to explain what I'm wanting to. Because what we will often say is, but it's a fact. This is a fact. I'm telling you a fact. Well, you're never going to convince anyone of that fact anyway. It is there. They have the opposing. We're in a polaric universe. They will have the opposing thought, the opposing fact. And any fact that you're looking for, any truth, you can find evidence to substantiate it. And actually really viscerally getting this, and that the fact is only ever, I would say the quote, and here we go, facts and science are always evolving. There are no facts. Every aspect you believe is a concrete truth, is a created truth in a bubble of reality. And to actually grasp that, it's so, oh my God, it's so bloody so freeing to be able to sit with someone, to not feel attacked, and above all for me, it used to really upset me when it would really upset me, for my own ego, of course, and then it used to really upset me, the experience that they were having, because they were so sad and bitter, and it used to so there was that, and I would just feel, well, obviously the egoic, how dare you say that, how dare you think that of me, but then there was that added thing of, and I'm running things in a little bit, I'm aware of this, it's a question of time, of judging their experience too. So there's two facets of the judgment, both the knowing that I'm only protecting an illusion of what I believe is my truth, I will defend it, how dare you, and also letting go of the judgment of the experience that the other person is having. Huge, huge game changers. Mm-hmm. And just, there's a very personal experience directly related to that, and the judgment of the experience, that I actually, last night, I find in the evenings the fatigue can sometimes blur you and you can start to get pulled into. And I had with a very close family member who, she is, and we have to protect her intimacy, but let's just say that she's very much mired in a mode of clinging to, and it's not she's where exactly where so many of us are, of absolutely clinging to that she is right and she will not be with a certain person, which means that she is probably going to spend the holidays alone. And so when she said this, because obviously we can't help that sort of empathy thing kicking in, and I know she loves to be surrounded by people and family, and so I did start to judge that experience last night as I went, and then I woke up and thought, oh my goodness, and thinking, oh well, maybe I should go and stay there, which just seeing her sort of like that as the victim and judging her experience is such a disservice. It's such a massive disservice to her. Her experience is perfect for her. I'm aware of rolling a lot of things. I wanted to spend a bit more time on this, but judging her experience, anybody's experience, A, be absolutely impossible to do that anyway, and B, it is not the experience that every being here is having is the perfect experience for them. There's no right, there's no wrong, and judging it as such is just colluding with that old conditioned mindset of there is a right and a wrong way to do this. And another thing, which is maybe taking it a little bit too far out there, but just this morning it occurred to me that if we all have been every different aspect of quantum reality, we've all been that person, and we've all, so it's so judging them for being, and this is going back to the judgment of someone else, if we're judging them, we're judging an aspect of ourselves basically. But anyway, that's going a little bit out there, so I'll read it back a little bit to maybe more practical things of that. Judging the when you start saying a word too much, it loses its whole meaning, doesn't it? But the kicking back against somebody judging you and judging what they're saying, absolutely pointless task for all that we've already been over. And then the judging of the experience of another. As I said, I've rather condensed that into a bit of a tight ball, but I hope that it made some sort of sense to somebody that's maybe approaching this for the first time. So and that one over to you.
Yes,
Mary.
thank you. I love that, and I love this. So many quotes from the stream, but when you were demonstrating, it reminded me of another thing that the stream said, and I don't have the exact quote, but that each moment in our life is an experience, and if you think of it as this bubble of an experience, of a story, that they're just increments, they're bubbles, which create our life, right? And so one thing I realized is we as humans want to share our story. We want to share our story. When I was little, my mother did XYZ. When, I was married, if your marriage like mine ended, there was a part of me that was, I'm right, he's wrong, it's his fault, right? And then I realized through that, which actually was the very beginning of my self journey of, wait a minute, I played a part in that because it was my perceptions. There was no he's wrong, I'm right, or he's right, I'm wrong. It was our stories, and our stories ended because that just was the best possible outcome. And we were both on different journeys. And so when I really figured that out, to stand in letting go of that old story, he was so wrong. He was so wrong. And I was a victim, and he did these terrible things to me, and poor me. That's a story I was telling myself. But when I stepped out of that story, as you said, out of that judgment and that judgment of him, and really started to realize that he too probably was struggling. There are so many things now that I am aware of that he struggled with. And so that was his pain and his journey and his story. And it's not wrong or right. It's just his story. Mm-hmm. And I always picture it like the library. We can go into the library and there's a billion stories to be told. And we get to choose the ones that we want to read and go, oh, wow, I really like this story. Or pull one down and read and go, that story's not for me. I'm going to put it back on the shelf. But there's no judgment. The book isn't wrong. I don't want to throw the book away. I don't want to burn it. It just doesn't vibe with me, that story anymore. So if you can, like Deborah said, start to look at it as like they're sharing their story. And again, if you have nothing to say for it, you don't have to join them, you don't have to agree with them. Even if you fully are on the other end and totally disagree, it's okay. But again, my great grandmother handed down this to my mother because I didn't get to know her just through her stories, but this one always spoke volumes to me my whole life. If you can't say something kind, don't say anything at all.
Mm.
And I remember that so strongly, and it just really speaks to me now in my Tya mindset. If I can't say anything, if I'm going to get in an argument and get triggered, I need to step back and just not say anything at that moment. Because we all know when we're down the spiral, when we're in that moment, when we're angry, we say things that we don't mean sometimes, or we say things that are hurtful that can't be taken back. So, again, through the holidays, I love these tools that you brought, Deborah. It's so beautiful. And if you find yourself triggered, take a step back, go outside, appreciate where you live. If the snow is falling, if it's cold, I live on an island, so our palm trees are decorated. I don't like the cold. Nothing wrong with it. The snow on Christmas morning when I lived up north was absolutely magical. I remember seeing sparkles in it and just
Oh, yeah.
appreciating that I didn't have to be out there driving in it to work. That I was a holiday and I could just sit and look out the window at how beautiful the snowfall was. Or, like I said, you can go outside on the porch, take a breath, go back in, and just really find the appreciation of that day for you. And I, like Deborah, am so excited that we've shared these tools, and hopefully you'll come back and share the stories with us. We would
Oh,
love
that
to
would
hear.
be amazing.
And then I have this really cool announcement. So I know we're running over time, but I have to share. So Claim Your Power Hour with David and Debbie G is tomorrow, right? I have to look at the calendar. Yes, on Thursday nights at 5. So on the 23rd, which is next week, we're going to have a special holiday Claim Your Power hour, and we're going to invite the Tya Facebook group. We're going to do it via Zoom, and we're going to invite anyone that wants to come on and have holiday cheer with us, and just open forum and discussion. We're still working out the logistics and everything, but we want you to all know that we love you and appreciate you, and we can discuss more about the holidays and tools that work. And we want to share that with our Facebook group. So we'll be inviting everyone to join us on Claim Your Power Hour on the 23rd. So there'll be more details. And then I'm also going to share the link to a podcast that David and I did last year about holiday tools as well. And I have not re-listened, but we did discuss some Tya tools to bring into the holidays to help with that. And there was just a couple more comments from people that I'm going to real quick go over. Adi talked about, when her sister.
Oh, I think you've frozen. Edie will never get to know what you wanted to say. I'm assuming that Kara's probably frozen for everyone else too. So, Edie, you're going to have to share that with us.